So everyone knows that in order to lose weight, you need to create something called a calorie deficit, right? Where you're eating less calories than you're burning in a day. But did you know that if you eat way too little and you create too steep of a deficit, our bodies actually go into this thing called starvation mode, where it starts holding on to all the fat in your body because it's in starvation mode. And then that's the reason why you're not losing weight, or worse, you're gaining all the way back and then some. If you don't believe me, good bitch, because I'm literally lying through my teeth. Hi everybody, my name's Marina. Welcome back to my channel. If you're interested in strength training, fat loss, body transformation, even like body image and relationship to food stuff, I'm your girl. Stick around for the rest of this video, and don't be afraid to like and comment down below and subscribe so that I know that you are benefiting or enjoying the content that I'm putting out. Starvation mode though, let's talk about it. The reason why I'm making this video today is because a lot of my clients ask me about starvation mode. They're like, is it real? Unfortunately, it isn't, right? But there is a lot of truth to this idea of starvation mode. I kind of just want to break it down. Who came up with the starvation mode idea? And if there is some truth to it, what the hell are they trying to tell us? So from what I've gathered, starvation mode is something that a well-meaning fitness influencer came up with, basically, to get more clicks. Because starvation mode is more like sensationalist. It's like, whoa, what the fuck does that mean? You're gonna be fat if you eat too little. It gets you to pay attention, you know what I mean? It gets you to pay attention way more than having a nuanced conversation about metabolic adaptation. And I'm going to explain what metabolic adaptation is, and I'm going to explain to you how better understanding this topic can be really useful for your own fat loss pursuits. But yeah, basically they just wanted more clicks, and since metabolic adaptation isn't sexy to talk about, they called it starvation mode instead. And they wanted to scare you, to get your attention. Does that make sense? I think it started off as this well-meaning thing, and then it quickly spiraled into something really annoying. Here's what I think they were trying to explain to you when they were referring to starvation mode. I think what they were trying to explain to you is metabolic adaptation, okay? So let's talk about what the heck metabolic adaptation is. When we consume less calories, when we are in a state of not enough energy coming into our bodies does this really smart thing to help keep us alive called metabolic adaptation, where it slows down our metabolism, or better yet, it down regulates our metabolism in order to conserve energy, okay? So think back to the hunter-gatherer days. This was a very useful trick to have up our biological evolutionary sleeve, that cool, it's been a couple days / a couple weeks that we've been able to find food, so our bodies are doing this little thing that helps keep us alive for longer by down-regulating our metabolism, so we don't need as much energy in a day to survive. Does that make sense? So, how does knowing this information help us when we are trying to lose fat? Let's talk about it. Okay, so I've created this beautiful infographic for us to try and explain this concept as clearly and as concisely as possible. So, let's talk about what happens when you create too large of a calorie deficit. What happens when, like everybody else, you're like, bet I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to do a 1,200 calorie diet, okay? I'm going to chop my calories in half, and I'm going to eat like a bird, and that's how I'm going to lose weight. This is what happens, okay? Before you even go into a deficit, right? You're at your maintenance. This is where we start the diet, right? And let's assume that your metabolism is in a pretty good place and you need to eat around 2,000 calories per day to maintain your weight. So you're consuming 2,000 calories per day and you're burning 2,000 calories per day, and that's why you're maintaining your weight. But then you decide that you want to lose some weight, so you create a steep deficit and you drop your calories down from 2,000 calories a day down to 1,200 calories a day. So now you're in an 800 calorie deficit. And not only is this shocking just mentally to think about, psychologically cutting your calories, the amount of food you're eating in a day in half doesn't feel too good psychologically, but also physically, this is quite challenging, quite shocking for the body, okay? And in order to try and help keep you alive, right, metabolic adaptation comes in and your metabolism down regulates. But because your deficit is so steep, your metabolism has to slow down a little bit faster, right? To help keep you alive a little bit longer. So because you're eating very little, your metabolism downregulates. Not only did your metabolism downregulate, but you're most likely also feeling really sluggish, very low energy. So without you even realizing, your body is compensating for how little you're eating, and you're maybe parking a little bit closer to the gym when you go to the gym, or parking a little bit closer to the grocery store when you go to the grocery store. Or maybe instead of getting up and picking up the remote, you ask your partner to hand it to you. And maybe instead of going to the mailbox every morning, you're going maybe every other day. And all of these little tiny ways that we're starting to conserve energy start to add up, right? So even though before you were in an 800 calorie deficit, because you were still burning 2,000 calories a day, now you're only burning 1,700 calories a day, and your deficit is way smaller. So what you'll notice is a lot of people, maybe the first 1 to 2 weeks that they're in this really big deficit, they'll see their weight drop pretty significantly. Maybe they're losing like 3 to 5 pounds per week. Dude, in 2 weeks, I'm down 8 pounds already. This is awesome. But then when you're getting into week 3, week 4, week 5, because the deficit is now smaller, because of the metabolic downregulation, people start getting in their heads, bro. They're like, fuck, my fat loss is slowing down. I'm not losing as much weight on the scale as quickly as I was. Not only that, but my energy is so low. Like, dude, I'm so hungry. I feel like shit. And all of these factors culminating together kind of really increase the chances that the person kind of says, fuck it, maybe on the weekend, right? They say, fuck it. And it can be very easy to undo a 500 calorie deficit. All you need is like one meal out where you kind of overdo it, or one night of drinking where you kind of overdo it. So suddenly you were in a 500 calorie deficit, but now you're in a 300 calorie surplus because you went back to eating what you were eating before, but now your metabolism is downregulated. Does that make sense? You haven't given your metabolism enough time to kind of recover. And that's kind of what they're trying to explain to you with all of the starvation mode mumbo jumbo. It's not that your body is trying to hold on to the fat. It's that there are things happening behind the scenes, biologically, psychologically, that you can't necessarily see, or you don't necessarily understand is happening. Another thing, when your calories are so low, did you know that it literally slows down your ability to think? Like, thinking becomes harder. I don't know if you noticed, but like when you're hungry, do you get like hangry? You get snappy, you get more emotional. It's hard to think critically. So all of these things are kind of compounding and creating like the perfect storm for you to say, fuck this, dude. This is way too hard. And even if you're not eating a crap ton, maybe you just go back to eating what you were eating before. Your metabolism has still suffered because of it. Are things starting to kind of click into place now? Now that we know what happens when we create too steep of a deficit, let's talk about what happens when we create a slight deficit. How can creating a slight deficit be better for fat loss? Right? How would a slight deficit help me? I want to lose weight and I want to lose it fast. Why would I want to slow things down? Let me explain why it might behoove you to slow things down a little bit, okay? So it looks a lot similar to our first diagram, right? We're starting out our maintenance. Our maintenance is at a good place to start out. Our metabolism is at a good place to start out. We're eating 2,000 calories a day and burning 2,000 calories a day. We decide that it's time for us to lose a little weight. So instead of doing a steep caloric deficit, we create a smaller caloric deficit. So instead of chopping our food in half, we simply decrease how many calories we're eating in a day by 300 calories. Not 800, 300. And what you might notice is, that you don't even feel any different. Eating minus 300 calories in a day actually feels pretty similar to what you were doing before, especially if all you do is increase the amount of fruits and veggies you're eating in a day and increasing the amount of protein you're eating in a day. So you're eating more food for less calories. Super easy. Great. Now here's the thing. Even though you only decreased your calories by a little bit, metabolic adaptation is still going to happen, okay? So we decrease our calories a little bit. So there is still metabolic adaptation, but it's much more gradual than what it was before. And because the metabolic adaptation is a little bit more gradual, we're still in a deficit, but we're also not feeling like shit, okay? So we decrease our calories by 300 calories in a day. After a while, our metabolism downregulates, and it downregulates from 2,000 calories a day to 1,900. So but remember before the steep deficit, it went from 2,000 calories a day to 1,700 calories a day. Now we're at 1,900 calories a day. So you're only burning 100 less calories. And especially if you're being mindful of your steps, something as simple as increasing your steps can help bump you back up to burning 300 calories a day. Does that make sense? So after a while, right, our metabolism is still going to slow down. After a while, you might still see a plateau in your fat loss. And all you got to do to continue seeing fat loss is decrease your calories by maybe another 100 calories or increase your activity by a couple thousand more steps in your day. And you're golden. But do you see how because it's gradual, you're still nourishing your body, you're fueling your body, you're thinking more clearly, you're not as ravenous in between meal times. Ultimately, what we're creating here is a situation where, yes, you're losing fat more slowly, you're losing weight on the scale more slowly, but you're able to keep up with this diet for longer. And so in the end, you end up losing the most amount of fat when you take the slow and steady approach. You don't feel this need to kick the bucket in and say, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. I'm literally starving and I feel like shit. Like there's less of a chance that that's going to happen, right? And then now that you know how to slowly decrease calories, you would do the same on the way back up, right? You slowly, once you're done with the cut is over, you slowly start increasing your calories by 100 calorie increments every 2 to 4 weeks or so. So you give your metabolism a chance to come back up slowly and steadily, right? So yeah, the next time you consider a fat loss phase, now you know the repercussions and the downfalls of losing too much weight too quickly, of cutting your calories too quickly, and maybe you'll take a much slower and steadier, more realistic approach. Let me know if this was helpful. Starvation mode is not a thing, but metabolic adaptation definitely is. If you liked this video, please like, comment, subscribe, do all the things so that I know that you're down and that you like this and that I should keep going with this stuff. Okay, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.